Alright, today we are making Christmas cookies for, of course, Christmas. We're going to make 3 different kinds of cookies, and thanks to my daughter who's actually going to be putting it all together. Our first cookie is going to be gingerbread, my favorite. So into a bowl, we put 3½ cups of flour, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, ½ teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. Doesn't look like much, but it's plenty. ½ teaspoon of allspice and ½ teaspoon of cloves. That's kind of optional if you're not really fussy, because cloves can be pretty strong. We also put a teaspoon of ginger, but for me, she'll usually put in an extra 2 or 3 just because I like it strong. So there we go. The dry ingredients are mixed and put aside. Into the mixer, we're going to put softened butter. It's supposed to be 10 tablespoons, but I think it's more like a ½ pound, which is about 16 tablespoons is what she actually put in. And you're going to mix that with the mixer until it's nice and gooey in the bowl. Doesn't take too long, but you got to let it do its work. It'll get stuck in the paddles, and you just scrape it off the bowl, and go back again. To that, you're going to add 3/4 cup of brown sugar and 2/3 cup molasses. That's what gives it its nice brown look when you're done. And you're going to mix all that together. There's a lot of mixing involved in putting this particular dough together. Mix and scrape, mix and scrape. I guess that's just part of baking. To the mixture now, we're going to add 1 egg and 2 teaspoons of vanilla. My daughter always said, if you want more, put more in. It's not going to hurt it in the grand scheme of things. If the recipe calls for 2, put in 3. Go for it. So we'll mix all the wet ingredients so they're all together. About a minute or so. It doesn't really take that long to combine them all. Now it's time to tackle the dry ingredients. So we've got to combine them all, and that'll give us our dough that we get to work with. Well, there you go. When it's done, it still looks crumbly, but it will all mush together by the time we're done. Onto the working surface, we've got some plastic wrap, and Abby's taken out all of the gingerbread dough. She's going to lightly pat it down. You don't want to overwork it. Wrap it nicely in the plastic. Now this has to rest. A couple, 3 hours in the fridge or overnight. That's the easiest way. So here we are the next day. And now she's going to roll this out so that we can cut our cookies. And there you go. She's got a whole bunch of different cookie cutters. And she's got the little gingerbread guy too. So off you go. Cut them all out. Put them on a baking sheet with some parchment paper. Look at how nice and neat those little guys are. And into the oven they go. 350 for 8 to 10 minutes. And when they come out, just got to let them cool now. Next up is Snickerdoodles. Yummy, those are some good cookies. As with most cookies, we need 3 cups of flour, 2 teaspoons of cream of tartar, a teaspoon of baking soda, and 1.5 teaspoons of cinnamon, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And we're going to mix all the dry ingredients together, make sure they're all well and combined. Set it aside for a second. Oh, once again over to our mixer. 8 teaspoons of butter, of course at room temperature. It doesn't mush up and mix very well if it's not at room temperature. And to that we're going to add a cup of sugar. And then of course mix it all. Round and round she goes. A couple minutes or so when she's all nice and soft and mixed together and ready for the other wet ingredients. So of course to that another 2 teaspoons of vanilla. 3 or 4 is also okay if you like it really vanilla-y. Vanilla-y. And 1 egg gets thrown in, and 1/2 an egg, which is just the yolk part. So my daughter's showing off her skills being able to do it with an eggshell. Good for her. I've got like an actual egg yolk separator kind of gadget thing. For the odd time I have to do the same thing. So you combine all that till it's nice and put together, and then in go the dry ingredients to finally make your dough. And of course, as with the gingerbread, it is going to be a little dry-y. It'll all come together once it sits for a minute or two. You take it over to the workstation, and in the little container there is a 1/4 cup of sugar and a teaspoon of cinnamon. So you're going to take your dough and you're going to roll it into small balls, and then you're going to roll it in the bowl and coat it with the sugar cinnamon mixture. That's what gives it its great flavor. You're going to go round and round and round. 8 go on a cookie sheet, unless you got a bigger sheet, in which case you could probably put some more. You don't want too many on a sheet because they will kind of spread out a little bit. Out of the oven they go, and the last step is grab a spoon and mush them down. And there are your snickerdoodles. And of course the last cookie we're going to tackle is a sugar cookie, which is a classic Christmas cookie. So 2.5 cups of flour, 3/4 teaspoon of baking powder, and 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt. My daughter didn't have a 3/4 teaspoon measure, so used a little 1/4. So of course back to our mixer, 1 cup of softened butter goes in the bowl and a cup of sugar. Hey, that seems awful familiar to the last set of cookies we made. And of course that's going to get mixed and mixed and mixed. How about that? In goes 1 egg. What, no yolk this time? The yolk's on you. It isn't. But there is 2 teaspoons of vanilla going in too. So there you go. It's almost the same except for the yolk, this part anyway. That gets all mixed up, and now the dry ingredients go in, just like the other ones before, till they're nice and mixed. And once that's done, you can see how it's a little crumbly, but not too bad, onto some plastic wrap. And Abby's going to mush it around just so that it's in one kind of big dough ball. Wrap it up, put it in the fridge 3 hours or overnight. So once it's sat overnight, in our case, now she's going to roll it out. And of course you need lots of flour for it so it doesn't all stick together on the rolling pin and on the cutting board. And once you get it down to the proper thickness, here comes her other cookie cutters, a star and a Christmas tree. And she's going to cut the dough, and that's of course going to go on a baking sheet with some parchment paper. Look at that, isn't that festive? Into the oven of course it goes for 9 to 10 minutes, 350, and when it comes out, there you go. Sugar cookies ready for decorating, or how about just eating? All our cookies together in a nice festive table setting. Enjoy. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you do, give me a like below. Feel free to share this in any of my other videos. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell. That'll let you know anytime I upload a video, usually Thursdays. As always, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye for now.